Excellence is not an event. It's a lifestyle. It's not about a single moment of greatness. It's about the quiet decisions you make every day. The small choices, the consistent habits, the standards you hold yourself to when no one else is watching. That's where real excellence is built. Most people believe success is about talent or luck. They think the people at the top have some kind of special advantage, a gift, a head start, better circumstances. But that's not the truth. The people who achieve lasting success, the ones who rise to the top and stay there, are the ones who have mastered the art of daily excellence. Because success is not built in a day. It's built in the daily choices you make when no one is paying attention. It's built in the early mornings, the late nights, the extra effort that most people aren't willing to give. It's built in the decision to show up, even when you don't feel like it, to push through the resistance, to stick to the process. Excellence is not a feeling. It's not something you chase. It's something you become through your daily habits. And here's the truth most people miss. Excellence is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's not about getting it right every time. It's about showing up and giving your best effort every single day. It's about having a standard for yourself that is non-negotiable. A mindset that says, I don't lower my standards to match the world. I raise my standards to shape the world. When you develop the habit of daily excellence, success becomes inevitable. You stop chasing results and you start attracting them. You stop relying on motivation and you start running on discipline. You stop waiting for the right moment and you start creating momentum through consistent action. So the question is, how do you build the mindset, the habits, and the systems that create excellence every day? How do you train yourself to operate at a higher standard automatically until it becomes who you are? That's exactly what we're going to cover. Not theories, not vague ideas, but real practical habits that you can apply immediately. Habits that have been tested and proven. Habits that will rewire your mind, sharpen your focus, and elevate your performance. Excellence is not a destination. It's not a result. It's a way of being. And once you learn how to master it, every single day, you'll separate yourself from the crowd. The first habit of daily excellence is mastering your mornings. The way you start your day determines the way you live your day. If you begin with discipline, focus, and purpose, those qualities will carry into everything else you do. But if you start in a reactive state, hitting snooze, rushing through the morning, you set yourself up for distraction, procrastination, and inconsistency. Excellence begins before the world wakes up. It begins when you take control of the first moments of your day. Because if you can win the morning, you can win the day. The key is not just waking up early, it's how you wake up. The best performers in the world wake up with intention. They start their day with purpose, not by accident. Before they do anything else, they prime their mind for excellence. Some use affirmations, some journal, some meditate, some move their body to wake up their physiology. But they all have one thing in common. They control their first thoughts, their first actions, and their first priorities. If you want to master daily excellence, your mornings must be non-negotiable. You must create a routine that strengthens your mindset, energizes your body, and focuses your attention on what matters most. Even 10 minutes of focused morning practice can rewire your brain and shift your entire day. The mistake most people make is waiting to feel like doing it. They wait for motivation to get up early. They wait until they have the energy to start strong. But that's not how excellence works. If you wait to feel ready, you'll stay stuck in the same patterns. Instead, you train yourself to wake up and move, no matter how you feel. One of the simplest but most powerful habits is getting up as soon as your alarm goes off. The moment you hit snooze, you are training your mind to procrastinate. You are conditioning yourself to break commitments. And that carries into everything else you do. But if you make waking up immediately a rule, no debate, no delay, you build the habit of instant execution. When you start your day with discipline, you carry that discipline into your work, your goals, your decisions. When you start your day with focus, you train your brain to filter out distractions. When you start your day with energy, you perform at a higher level in everything you do. Success does not start with big achievements. It starts with small, intentional choices. And if you can master your mornings, you'll gain control over the rest of your day. The second habit of daily excellence is controlling your focus. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, you create more stress. If you focus on distractions, you waste time and energy. But if you direct your attention toward growth, execution, and results, your actions will align with success. Most people never train their focus. They wake up with good intentions, but by the end of the day, they wonder where their time went. Excellence doesn't work that way. It requires deliberate control over what gets your attention. The people who dominate in life are not necessarily smarter or more talented. They simply know how to eliminate distractions and lock in on what matters. They don't let the outside world dictate their priorities. They don't allow every message, every request, or every interruption to pull them away from their mission. You must train your mind to focus like a laser. And the best way to do this is by setting clear rules for your attention. Block out time for deep work. Protect your focus as if it were the most important thing in your life, because it is. Excellence is built in the moments when you choose discipline over distraction. Every time you say no to something meaningless and say yes to your mission, you reinforce the habit of concentration. Distractions don't just waste time, they drain energy. Every time you switch tasks, your brain has to recalibrate. It takes effort to refocus. This is why most people feel exhausted at the end of the day, even if they didn't accomplish much. They spent the day jumping from one thing to the next, never fully locked in. The highest performers operate differently. They create blocks of deep, uninterrupted work. They train their brain to stay on one task for extended periods. And as a result, they get more done in a few focused hours than most people do in an entire day. If you want to rewire your mind for excellence, you must learn to guard your focus. Start by removing the biggest sources of distraction in your life. Control your environment. Be ruthless with your time. And most importantly, develop the discipline to keep your attention on one thing at a time. The third habit of daily excellence is mastering your self-discipline. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not intelligence. The people who win in life are the ones who can make themselves do what needs to be done, especially when they don't feel like it. Most people rely on motivation. They wait until they feel inspired. They wait until the conditions are perfect. They wait until they're in the mood. And that's why they stay stuck, because motivation is temporary. It's unpredictable. It comes and goes. But discipline, that's permanent. That's something you build. Discipline is a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. And just like a muscle, if you don't use it, it weakens. Every time you make an excuse, Every time you procrastinate, every time you let yourself off the hook, you make that muscle weaker. But every time you follow through, every time you push yourself, every time you keep a commitment, you strengthen it. The secret to building discipline is to eliminate negotiation. Most people lose the battle before they even start because they allow their mind to negotiate. Should I go to the gym or take the day off? Should I work on my goals or relax? Should I do it now or later? That back and forth drains your energy. It gives your mind an opportunity to find an excuse. The best performers don't negotiate with themselves. They don't wait for motivation. They don't ask how they feel. They don't debate whether they should follow through. They just do it because it's who they are, because they've trained themselves to act automatically. Discipline is about making a decision once and then never debating it again. If you decide you're the kind of person who wakes up early, then there's no discussion when the alarm goes off. If you decide you're the kind of person who works out daily, then it's non-negotiable. If you decide you're the kind of person who follows through on commitments, then it doesn't matter how you feel in the moment. The easiest way to build discipline is to start with small daily commitments. Even something as simple as making your bed, drinking water first thing in the morning, or sticking to a set routine. Because every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you train your mind to follow through. And that carries over into bigger decisions, bigger goals, and bigger results. Discipline isn't about doing things perfectly. It's about doing them consistently. Some days will be harder than others. Some days, the last thing you want to do is stick to the plan. But that's when it matters most. That's when you build the kind of discipline that separates you from everyone else. The fourth habit of daily excellence is developing relentless consistency. Most people start strong, but very few stay consistent. They get excited. They commit to new habits. They feel unstoppable. But then something happens. Life gets in the way. Their energy dips. They miss a day, then two, then three. And before they know it, they're back to square one. Excellence isn't about what you do once in a while. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. It's better to do something small every single day than to go all out for a week and then quit. The highest performers in the world aren't the ones who go the hardest in short bursts. They are the ones who show up day after day, no matter what. Consistency is the foundation of everything great. Success in any area, fitness, business, personal growth, relationships, comes down to your ability to keep showing up, even when the motivation is gone, even when the results aren't immediate, even when no one else is watching. Most people fail because they expect results too quickly. They work hard for a few weeks, but when they don't see instant progress, they assume it's not working. But that's not how success happens. Growth isn't linear. The results don't come right away. They compound over time. And if you quit too soon, you never reach the breakthrough. The people who achieve excellence understand this. They don't stop just because they don't see results right away. They keep going. They trust the process. They know that consistency creates momentum, and momentum leads to massive transformation. The key to relentless consistency is removing the decision-making process. When something is optional, it becomes negotiable. But when it's a must, it gets done, no matter what. You don't wake up and wonder if you should brush your teeth. You just do it because it's part of your identity. It's who you are. If you want to be consistent, you must approach your habits the same way. Working on your goals is not optional. Training your body is not optional. Sticking to your commitments is not optional. You don't do it when it's convenient. You don't do it when you feel like it. You do it because that's the standard you've set for yourself. The biggest mistake people make is relying on willpower. Willpower is unreliable. It fluctuates. Some days it's strong, some days it's weak. And if your success depends on how much willpower you have in the moment, you'll always struggle to stay consistent. The best way to eliminate the need for willpower is to create systems. Systems make success automatic. They remove the friction between you and the action you need to take. They make it easier to be consistent because you don't have to think about it. You just follow the plan. A system could be a set time every day for your most important habit. It could be preparing in advance so that taking action becomes effortless. It could be tracking your progress to reinforce your commitment. Whatever it is, the goal is the same. Take the decision out of the process so that consistency becomes natural. Another secret to consistency is lowering the barrier to entry. Most people set themselves up for failure by making their goals too overwhelming. They tell themselves they need to work out for an hour, write for 3 hours, or make huge progress every day. But when life gets busy, those expectations become impossible to maintain. Excellence is not about going all out. It's about never stopping. Even if you only have 10 minutes, do something. Even if you're tired, take some action. Even if you're not at your best, keep the streak alive. Because the moment you stop completely, it becomes easier to quit. But if you keep the habit alive, no matter how small, you maintain your momentum. Consistency isn't about perfection. You will have days where you slip up. You will have moments where life gets in the way. That's normal. What matters is that you get back on track immediately. Most people let one missed day turn into a missed week, then a missed month, and then they're back at zero. But the ones who master consistency, they never let one mistake break their momentum. If you want to build relentless consistency, you must hold yourself to a higher standard. You must see yourself as the kind of person who follows through no matter what. You must make your habits non-negotiable and remove the mental debate. And most importantly, you must keep going, even when you don't see results right away. The fifth habit of daily excellence is setting and maintaining high personal standards. Your standards dictate your results. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you tolerate. If you accept mediocrity, that's exactly what you'll experience. If you demand excellence from yourself, your life will rise to meet that standard. Most people lower their standards to match their environment. They adapt to the people around them. If they work in a lazy, unmotivated culture, they start making excuses. If they surround themselves with average thinkers, they start thinking small. If they see others cutting corners, they start doing the same. But excellence is not about adapting to your environment. It's about setting the standard, regardless of what's happening around you. It's about refusing to accept anything less than your best effort. It's about holding yourself accountable to a higher level of discipline, focus, and execution. Your personal standards determine the way you show up every day. If your standard is to do the bare minimum, that's exactly what you'll do. If your standard is to only take action when you feel like it, you'll stay inconsistent. But if your standard is to perform at your highest level, no matter the circumstances, you will separate yourself from the majority. Excellence isn't about being perfect. It's about consistently striving to operate at the highest level possible. It's about choosing discipline when others choose excuses. It's about choosing focus when others choose distractions. It's about choosing to push yourself further when others would stop. The mistake most people make is letting their feelings dictate their standards. They say, I'll do it when I feel ready. Or I'll put in more effort when the results start coming. But that's backwards. Excellence is built by sticking to your standards, even when the motivation isn't there. High standards are about non-negotiables. These are the things you commit to doing, no matter what. If your standard is to be disciplined with your health, then skipping workouts is not an option. If your standard is to be focused in your work, then distractions are not entertained. If your standard is to be reliable, then following through on commitments is mandatory. You must decide what your non-negotiables are. And once you do, you must enforce them ruthlessly. Because every time you lower your standards, even slightly, you reinforce the habit of making excuses. But every time you hold the line, you reinforce the identity of someone who does what they say they will do. One of the fastest ways to raise your standards is to change your environment. If you spend time around people who accept average effort, it's only a matter of time before you do the same. But if you surround yourself with people who demand more from themselves, who operate at a high level every day, you will naturally elevate. Excellence is contagious. If you put yourself in an environment where high standards are the norm, you won't have to force yourself to rise. You'll rise automatically. You won't tolerate laziness. You won't tolerate inconsistency. You won't tolerate mediocrity because it will no longer feel normal to you. But your environment is only part of the equation. The real test of your standards happens when no one is watching, when there's no one there to hold you accountable, when it would be easy to cut corners, to slack off, to give less than your best. That's when your standards truly matter. Discipline is doing the right thing when no one would know if you didn't. It's pushing yourself even when there's no immediate reward. It's holding yourself to a higher level, even when no one else does. That's what separates the great from the average. Most people don't fail because they lack the ability. They fail because they lower their standards when things get hard. They let their emotions dictate their effort. They let setbacks make them quit. But the ones who succeed, they maintain their standards through every challenge, every failure, every obstacle. If you want to master daily excellence, you must raise your standards in every area of life, in the way you work, in the way you train, in the way you handle adversity, in the way you treat others. Every moment is an opportunity to reinforce the identity of someone who refuses to accept anything less than the best from themselves. The sixth habit of daily excellence is training your ability to take decisive action. Most people hesitate. They overthink, they second guess, they analyze every possible outcome before making a move. And in that hesitation, opportunities are lost. Momentum is killed, progress is delayed. Excellence is built on speed of execution, the ability to decide and take action without hesitation, the ability to trust yourself enough to make a move, even when you don't have all the answers, the ability to step forward, take risks, and adjust along the way. The people who win in life are not the ones who make the perfect decisions. They are the ones who make fast decisions. They don't wait for the stars to align. They don't waste time debating whether they should start. They don't sit in analysis paralysis. They act. And because they act, they create momentum. Hesitation is a habit. Every time you delay, every time you hesitate, every time you put off a decision, you reinforce the habit of inaction. Your brain starts associating decision-making with stress. with overthinking, with fear, and eventually it becomes harder and harder to take action on anything. The fastest way to rewire this habit is to train yourself to act instantly. The moment you know you need to do something, move. If you need to speak up in a meeting, do it before you talk yourself out of it. If you need to make an important call, do it before doubt creeps in. If you need to start on a task, do it before your brain has time to find an excuse. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. The more you hesitate, the more your mind finds reasons not to act. But if you build the habit of moving immediately, you take away the power of hesitation. You condition yourself to be someone who takes action no matter what. The biggest lie people tell themselves is that they need more time to think, more time to plan, more time to prepare. But in reality, most of the time, thinking more doesn't lead to better decisions. It leads to no decision. It leads to overanalyzing, second-guessing, and ultimately staying stuck. Decisiveness is a skill. And like any skill, it gets stronger the more you train it. The more you make quick, firm decisions, the more confident you become in your ability to figure things out. The more you trust yourself to take action, the more you realize you don't need all the answers. You just need to start. The key to decisive action is learning to trust your instincts. Most of the time, you already know what needs to be done. Your gut tells you. Your experience tells you. But instead of acting, you hesitate. You let doubt creep in. You let fear of making the wrong choice paralyze you. And in that hesitation, you lose momentum. But the most successful people in the world, they act on instinct. They trust themselves. They know that even if they make a wrong move, they can adjust. They don't fear mistakes because they know that mistakes are just part of the process. And because they don't hesitate, they move faster. They accomplish more. They gain more experience. Hesitation kills momentum, and momentum is the key to success. When you're in motion, everything gets easier. Discipline gets easier. Confidence gets stronger. Progress happens faster. But when you hesitate, you slow yourself down. You create resistance where there should be none. You turn simple decisions into impossible ones. The simplest way to train decisive action is to use the 5-second rule. The moment you know you need to act, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move, speak, start, take the first step before your mind has a chance to convince you not to. The hardest part of anything is starting. But once you start, momentum takes over. You no longer have to force yourself. You just keep moving. And the more you train yourself to start without hesitation, the easier it becomes to take action in every area of your life. If you want to achieve excellence, you must master the ability to act. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when you have more information. Now, because every great achievement, every success story, every breakthrough started with a single decisive action. The 7th habit of daily excellence is building mental toughness. Excellence isn't just about skill. It's about resilience. It's about how well you handle pressure, adversity, and setbacks. Because no matter